Hey everyone, Sawyer Quinn here, 31 years old, coming to you from my tiny San Francisco apartment. Before I dive into my story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments, and if you've ever had to deal with family drama, the kind that turned your whole world upside down. Hit that like and subscribe button to support my channel. This one's wild, trust me. Life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. I'm a freelance programmer, working remotely from a cozy corner of my studio apartment, surrounded by monitors and empty coffee mugs. The hum of my computer fans, the faint scent of lavender from my diffuser, they keep me grounded while I code late into the night. Most mornings, San Francisco's fog rolls past my window, a gray blanket that matches the quiet rhythm of my days. I've always loved tech, building apps, untangling code, watching lines of logic come alive. It's my escape, my safe space. But growing up, my family never got it. My parents, both in corporate sales, were all about flash and charm, always pushing my older brother Ethan and my younger sister Lily to follow their lead. Ethan was the golden boy, destined for boardrooms. Lily, the bubbly cheerleader who could do no wrong. Me? I was the odd one out, the nerd with headphones on, tinkering with computers, while they rolled their eyes. "Why can't you just be normal, Sawyer?" My mom would sigh, her manicured nails tapping impatiently. My dad would chuckle, "She's just in her own world." Their words stung, but I buried myself deeper into circuit boards and code. The only person who ever understood me was my grandfather, Everett Quinn. Grandpa Everett wasn't just family. He was my hero, a retired engineer, with a spark in his eyes whenever he talked about tech, from old punch card computers to the blockchain revolution. When I was 9, sitting cross-legged in his cluttered garage, he handed me my first Raspberry Pi, his calloused fingers guiding mine as we built a tiny robot together. "This is your future, Sawyer. Don't let anyone tell you it's not enough." Those weekends in Oakland, just across the bay, were my sanctuary. We'd sip root beer on his porch, the air smelling of eucalyptus, while he told stories of coding in the 80s. Inside those walls, I wasn't the weird kid. I was enough. 3 months ago, Grandpa passed away. I was gutted. I sat at his funeral, clutching a tissue, barely hearing the eulogies as memories flooded in. His laugh, his patient way of explaining binary, the way he'd wink when I solved a tricky bug. A week later, his lawyer called me to a small office downtown. Dusty blinds, too much mahogany. I was still numb, my eyes puffy, when he slid a letter across the desk. "Everett left you something specific. Not to your parents or siblings, just you." It was a digital wallet, a crypto account he'd set up years ago, now worth a fortune, thanks to Bitcoin's wild surge in 2025. I'm talking life-changing money. Enough to pay off my student loans, maybe even start my own tech company. The lawyer leaned forward, quoting Grandpa's words. "Sawyer's the only one who'll use this for its potential, not just its price." Those words hit me like a wave. This wasn't just money. It was his belief in me, his legacy. At first, I kept it quiet, not even telling my best friend Mia. I checked the wallet app obsessively, watching the numbers climb and dip with the market swings. 300,000 one day, 280 the next. It felt surreal, like holding a winning lottery ticket. You're too afraid to cash. But my apartment, with its creaky floors and overpriced rent, suddenly felt too small for the weight of this secret. My family had always been a minefield. Ethan borrowing money he never repaid, Lily forgetting to return my stuff, my parents expecting me to bend to their plans. Growing up, I was labeled selfish whenever I tried to set boundaries, like when I locked my bedroom door, and Lily cried to Mom about it. So I learned to keep my life private, holiday texts, the occasional family Zoom. Just enough to avoid their judgment. But last week, I slipped. I posted a vague tribute to Grandpa on Instagram, a photo of his old computer manual, captioned, "Miss you always." I didn't think twice. My phone was on silent, buried under a pile of laundry, while I debugged code with a cold coffee in hand. 2 hours later, I picked it up. 47 notifications. Family group chat. My stomach sank. I scrolled up, and there it was. Ethan's message. "Sawyer's crypto stash is just sitting there. We should use it for the family. Grandpa would have wanted that." My hands trembled as the replies poured in, each one worse than the last. I sat there, frozen. staring at my phone as the notifications kept piling up. My fingers hovered over the screen, my coffee long gone cold on the desk beside me. That faint bitterness still lingered in the air. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I'd been deep in a coding sprint, my San Francisco apartment quiet, except for the soft clatter of my keyboard and the distant hum of traffic below. I'd ignored my phone for hours, lost in lines of code. But when I finally swiped it open, that's when the world tilted. An email from Grandpa Everett's lawyer, confirming the transfer of his crypto wallet to my name. I opened the MetaMask app, hands shaky, and there it was. A balance that made my heart skip, $325,000, fluctuating with Bitcoin's wild swings in September 2025. I could still hear Grandpa's voice from years ago, sitting in his Oakland garage, the smell of motor oil and solder in the air. "Crypto's the future, Sawyer. Hold it tight." I thought I'd keep it secret, just for a while. Give myself time to process what this really meant, but I'd forgotten about that Instagram post from last week, the one with Grandpa's old computer manual. I opened the family group chat and my stomach dropped, like I'd missed a step on a staircase. Ethan's message was the first blow. "Sawyer's crypto stash is just sitting there. We should use it for the family. Grandpa would have wanted that." Then Mom chimed in, her text dripping with that all-too-familiar tone of expectation. "Honey, it could pay off your dad's medical bills." Lily followed, her words sharp as a blade. "My kids need college funds, Sawyer. Don't be selfish." And Aunt Karen, always the peacemaker, added gently, "Let's discuss this as a family, dear." Their profile pictures stared back at me. Ethan's smug corporate headshot, Lily's perfect selfie, her twins in the background, Mom's poised smile at some gala. I could picture it all. Ethan, leaning back in his fancy office chair, typing with that entitled smirk he'd had since we were kids. Lily in her suburban kitchen, manicured nails tapping out guilt trips, her kids playing nearby. It was like being a teenager again. Ethan taking my laptop for a quick project and crashing it. Lily borrowing my favorite hoodie, stretching it out, laughing it off. Family shares, they'd say, and I was always left picking up the pieces. The shock hit first. A cold wave washing over me, my hands trembling so hard I nearly dropped my phone. Then came betrayal. Sharp, familiar, like a knife twisting in an old wound. Because this wasn't just money, it was Grandpa's trust in me. His belief that I would build something, not hand it over to cover their debts or fund their kids' futures. I flashed back to being 15, sitting on Grandpa's porch, the evening air cool, scented with jasmine. I'd been crying because Ethan had sold my old Game Boy for pocket cash. Grandpa's voice was steady, his hand warm on my shoulder. "You teach people how to treat you, Sawyer." Now, staring at those messages, I felt that same violation, dressed up as family unity. My pulse raced. The apartment felt too small. The fog outside pressing against the windows, like it was trapping me in. I tried to laugh it off, remembering Ethan's epic fail, trying to set up his own crypto wallet last year, locking himself out in like 5 minutes. But the humor faded fast. My phone buzzed again. I glanced down, expecting another guilt trip. Instead, it was a MetaMask alert. "Unsuccessful login attempt detected." My breath caught. The screen glowed like a warning in the dim room. Someone was already trying to get into the wallet. My hands were still shaking as I set my phone down on the desk. The MetaMask alert glowed like a warning flare. In the dim light of my San Francisco apartment, the fog outside was thick, muffling the city's usual hum, but inside my head, everything was screaming. I took a deep breath. The faint lavender scent from my diffuser, doing little to calm the storm brewing in my chest. I opened the family group chat again, staring at Ethan's message about family money, and Lily's guilt trip about her kids' college funds. Then Mom's text echoed in my mind. "Don't be difficult, Sawyer." Her voice was so clear, like she was standing right there in my cramped living room. Her lips pursed, just like always, whenever I didn't fall in line. I could picture Lily, typing furiously in her pristine suburban kitchen, her twins' toys scattered across the counter, her eyes narrowing as she played the martyr card. And Ethan? Probably sprawled on his leather couch in his fancy condo, already plotting. Fingers tapping with that smug confidence he'd had since we were kids. I typed a response. Calm, professional. Like I was debugging a client's code. Hey everyone. I appreciate the excitement, but Grandpa left this crypto account to me alone. His encrypted letter was clear. It's for my future projects. I'm not comfortable sharing it, and I'd appreciate you respecting that. I hit send, my thumb hovering, hoping maybe, just maybe, they'd back off. But within minutes, the replies flooded in. Ethan, come on, Sawyer, don't hoard it. We all need a piece. Lily, my kids deserve a future too. You can code anywhere. Mom, family comes first, honey. You know that. And Aunt Karen, the peacemaker, let's talk this out, Sawyer. No need to get territorial. Their words hit like a punch, each one dragging me back into childhood. I was 12 again, hiding in my room after Ethan borrowed my laptop for a school project and returned it with a cracked screen, laughing it off. You're so dramatic, he'd said. And Mom? Arms crossed, nodding, blaming me for not sharing. Or the time Lily took my favorite sketchbook, drew all over it, then cried to Dad when I got mad, and somehow I was the bad guy. Family comes first, they'd say, but it always meant my boundaries came last. The betrayal stung. Sharp, familiar. But then guilt crept in too. Was I being selfish? Grandpa's letter flashed in my mind. His neat handwriting, the encrypted USB drive he'd left me, his trust in me. I could almost hear his voice, steady and warm, from those summer nights on his Oakland porch. The air thick with jasmine, the buzz of cicadas. You don't owe anyone your dreams, Sawyer. But still, the guilt gnawed, whispering that maybe I was wrong to hold on to this alone. Then my phone buzzed again. A new MetaMask alert. Multiple failed login attempts. My heart raced. I opened the app, checking the security logs. Ethan, the guy who once locked himself out of his email for a week, was trying to guess the wallet's seed phrase. Typical. I almost laughed, picturing him hunched over his laptop, muttering curses as he typed random words. But the humor faded fast. This wasn't just tech illiteracy. This was deliberate. I enabled two-factor authentication. The $50 annual fee felt like a small price to pay for security. My fingers trembled as I tightened the wallet's settings, the weight of their entitlement pressing down on me. I glanced out the window, the fog now a heavy curtain, mirroring the dread settling in my gut. I checked the logs again, and my breath caught. The IP address of the latest hack attempt was from Mom's house. Someone in the family wasn't just talking. They were already making moves. My heart was still pounding from that MetaMask alert. The glow of my phone screen cast long shadows across my San Francisco apartment. The fog outside had thickened, curling around the streetlights like a shroud, and the faint hum of my computer fans felt like the only thing tethering me to reality. I sat back in my chair. The worn leather creaked beneath me. I ran my fingers through my hair, trying to shake off the betrayal stinging in my chest. My family's messages, Ethan's demands, Lily's guilt trips, Mom's dismissive tone, they swirled in my head like a bad loop of code. I could picture Ethan's smug grin as he typed, lounging in his sleek condo, thinking he could bully me into handing over Grandpa's crypto. Lily, pacing in her perfect suburban living room, her twins' laughter in the background, while she crafted another sob story about the kids. It was the same old pattern. Family comes first, but only when it meant taking from me. I wanted to scream, to tell them to back off, but the weight of their expectations pressed down, making my hands tremble as I clutched my cold coffee mug. Then I remembered Grandpa Everett. His voice cut through the chaos in my mind. Steady, warm, like it always did when I was a kid. I was 14, sitting in his cluttered Oakland garage, the air thick with the metallic tang of solder and the faint sweetness of jasmine from the backyard. He handed me a USB drive, his calloused fingers brushing mine, and he said, "Digital security's like a fortress, Sawyer. Build it strong, and don't give anyone the keys." He taught me about encryption, two-factor authentication, the works, old-school tips from a man who'd coded through the dot-com boom. Those weekends were my refuge. Away from Mom's sighs, away from Ethan's taunts about my nerdy hobbies. Grandpa saw me, not the awkward kid my family dismissed. Now, staring at my phone, I pulled out his encrypted letter from the drawer, the edges worn from my touch. His words were clear. "This wallet's for you, Sawyer. Protect it, like you protect your dreams." It wasn't just money, it was his trust, his belief in my future. I took a deep breath, the lavender scent of my diffuser grounding me as I opened my laptop. I needed help, someone who understood this digital battlefield. I logged into a crypto forum I'd lurked on for years, my fingers flying across the keyboard as I posted a vague question about securing inherited wallets. Within minutes, replies poured in. Usernames like Blockchain Babe and Hodl King, offering advice on cold storage and U.S. digital inheritance laws. One user, a lawyer named Alex from Chicago, DM'd me. Check California probate law. If the will's clear, it's yours alone. I smiled, picturing Grandpa chuckling at his old-school tricks still holding up, like using a handwritten seed phrase instead of a cloud backup. His lessons were my shield now, giving me the strength to fight back. I leaned back, the city's fog pressing against my window, and I started tweaking the wallet's security. New passwords, extra authentication layers. The $75 I spent on a premium security app felt like a small price for peace of mind. My family thought they could crack me, like Ethan once cracked my laptop, but they didn't know who they were up against. I flashed back to 16 years old. Grandpa catching me crying after Lily borrowed my code for a school project and took credit. His eyes fierce, his words sharp. Don't let them dim your spark. Now I felt that spark reignite. Pushing past the guilt, past the old wounds. Armed with his wisdom, I set a trap. My apartment felt like a pressure cooker. The San Francisco fog outside my window, a thick gray curtain trapping my racing thoughts. That MetaMask alert about the hack attempt from Mom's house still burned in my mind. My phone screen cast a cold glow across the cluttered desk. The faint whir of my computer fans mixed with the distant wail of a siren down the street. But it was the memory of Grandpa Everett's voice that steadied me. I was 17, sprawled on his Oakland porch, the air heavy with jasmine, the clink of his root beer bottle against mine. Never let anyone push you into giving up what's yours, Sawyer. You lock it down, digital or not. That memory became my anchor, pulling me out of the spiral of guilt and anger. My family thought they could steamroll me, like they always had. Ethan borrowing my stuff, Lily guilt-tripping me with tears, but this time, I wasn't backing down. I opened my laptop. My fingers moved with purpose, despite the tremor in them. I needed to fortify the crypto wallet, make it untouchable. I spent $120 on advanced monitoring software, real-time alerts, IP tracking, the works. Every penny worth it, to protect Grandpa's legacy. Blockchain transaction fees had spiked, so I carefully moved a small portion of the funds to a cold wallet. The process felt like wiring a bomb, in reverse. My phone buzzed relentlessly as I worked. Family calls lighting up the screen. I ignored them until Lily's name flashed. I hesitated, picturing her in her perfect Sacramento home, twins' toys scattered across the floor, her voice syrupy with concern. Against my better judgment, I answered. Sawyer, please. The kids are asking about their college funds. You wouldn't let them down, right? I could imagine her pacing, blonde hair tucked behind her ear, playing the martyr, like she did when she borrowed my favorite earrings at 15 and lost them. This isn't about the kids, Lily, I said. Grandpa left this to me. She scoffed. You're so selfish, always have been. The words stung, dragging me back to high school, when she cried to Mom after I refused to share my code for her project, painting me as the bad guy. The call ended, but the hits kept coming. Ethan showed up at my building an hour later, his knock loud, impatient. Through the peephole, I saw his smug face, designer jacket pristine, shifting impatiently. Open the door, Sawyer. We need to talk about the money. I didn't answer. But my heart pounded as I pictured him rifling through my stuff like he did at 13, stealing my flash drive for fun. Instead, I opened my monitoring app, documenting every call, every text, every login attempt. The logs were my evidence, my shield. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was fighting back. I could almost hear Grandpa chuckling, his old-school advice ringing true. Keep receipts. Then, as I sat there, the city's fog pressing against my window like a weight, my phone lit up. A new alert from the monitoring software. Not another amateur guess from Ethan. This was a real hack attempt, sophisticated, targeted. My breath caught, the room suddenly too small. The lavender scent of my diffuser, no match for the panic rising in my throat. Someone wasn't just poking around anymore. They meant business. The air in my San Francisco apartment felt heavy, the fog outside my window so dense it pressed against the glass, mirroring the pressure building in my chest. My phone buzzed incessantly on the desk, each notification a jab from my family's relentless demands. The faint scent of lavender from my diffuser was no match for the anxiety curling in my gut, my fingers still trembling. From the latest MetaMask alert about a targeted hack attempt, I could almost hear Grandpa Everett's voice, calm, steady, from those summer evenings on his Oakland porch, the jasmine-scented air wrapping around us, as he taught me to protect what's mine. "Build your walls high, Sawyer," he'd said at 16, handing me a book on cybersecurity, his eyes twinkling with pride. That memory fueled me now. But the sting of betrayal, Ethan's hacking, Lily's guilt trips, cut deeper than I expected, dragging me back to childhood wounds, when they'd take my things and call me selfish for protesting. The tests came fast. Ethan escalated his amateur hacking, sending me a phishing email disguised as a MetaMask reset link. I could picture him in his sleek condo, hunched over his laptop, his smug grin fading as he realized I wasn't clicking his bait. I almost laughed, remembering how he once bricked his own phone trying to jailbreak it, then blamed me for not fixing it. But the humor vanished when Lily called, her voice thick with crocodile tears. "Sawyer, the twins need this for their future," she said. Her words rehearsed, probably standing in her pristine kitchen, marble countertops, kids' drawings pinned to the fridge. I saw her through our last Zoom call, her blonde hair perfect, her eyes narrowing when I didn't cave. "This isn't about them," I snapped, my voice tight. "It's about what Grandpa wanted." She hung up, but not before muttering, "You've always been so cold." The words echoed a fight from when I was 14, when she borrowed my coding project and presented it as hers, leaving me to face Mom's lecture about sharing. Allies emerged unexpectedly. My cousin Marcus, the quiet one who'd moved to Portland and rarely joined family drama, texted me, "Heard about the crypto mess. Grandpa left it to you for a reason. Stay strong." I could imagine his lanky frame slouched over his phone, his glasses slipping down his nose, offering a rare nod of support. Then there was Blockchain Babe from the crypto forum, a coder named Tara, Zooming with me, her voice crackling through my earbuds as she walked me through advanced wallet protections. "You've got this." Her webcam showed a cluttered desk not unlike mine. Their support felt like a lifeline, cutting through the isolation of San Francisco's sky-high rent and the weight of family expectations. I was paying $3,200 a month for this shoebox apartment, and the crypto was my ticket to freedom. A startup, maybe. Or a life not chained to bills. That thought hardened my resolve. But my enemies were clear now. Ethan, with his entitled demands, Lily, wielding her kids like weapons, and Mom, who called later, her tone clipped. "Sawyer, don't make this a fight," she said, her voice carrying that familiar edge from when I'd locked my room at 15 to keep Ethan out. I could see her in her Palo Alto living room, manicured nails tapping the armrest, expecting me to fold. I didn't answer. My silence was a rebellion. The internal tug of war, empathy for Lily's kids versus anger at their manipulation, churned inside me. I wanted to help my nieces, but not like this, not by surrendering Grandpa's trust. As I tightened the wallet's security, adding layers like a digital fortress, I dug into the monitoring logs. My heart raced as I traced the hack attempts, each one more desperate. Ethan's phishing was sloppy, but someone else was involved, someone smarter. I leaned closer to my screen, the city's fog a dull roar outside. And then I uncovered a pattern in the logs. It wasn't just random attacks. Approaching the wallet's core security, I uncovered their plan. A coordinated effort that went beyond Ethan's bumbling attempts. My breath caught. The room suddenly felt too small. Someone in the family was playing a bigger game. The glow of my laptop screen was the only light in my San Francisco apartment. It cast sharp shadows across the cluttered desk where my cold coffee sat forgotten. The fog outside was relentless, a gray wall pressing in, amplifying the dread coiling in my stomach. My phone lay silent now, but the weight of the family group chat lingered, Ethan's entitled demands, Lily's manipulative pleas, replaying in my mind. I could still see Lily's face from our last Zoom call, her perfectly curled hair framing a practiced pout as she mentioned her twins, like they were props in her guilt trip. And Ethan's smug smirk haunted me too, the same one he wore at 16, when he borrowed my flash drive and deleted half my school project, laughing as I scrambled to recover it. The betrayal felt like a bruise, tender and familiar. But then, Grandpa Everett's voice cut through the noise. I was 13, sitting in his Oakland garage, the air thick with solder and motor oil, as he handed me a USB drive. Secrets are power, Sawyer. Keep yours close. Now, his encrypted notes were my guide, and I was ready to face the storm. I dove into the monitoring software, my fingers steady, despite the pulse hammering in my ears. The logs were a gold mine, timestamps of Ethan's phishing attempts, IP addresses tracing back to Mom's house, even a few from an unfamiliar source. Here, I cross-referenced them, and the $200 I'd spent on the premium app suddenly proved its worth. The crypto market was soaring in September 2025, Bitcoin hitting 85,000, making Grandpa's wallet a bigger target every single day. I found his old notes in a locked file on the USB, his handwriting digitized, but still carrying his steady cadence. One entry stopped me cold. "Watch your parents, Sawyer. They pushed me to sell my patents years ago. Said it was for the family." My breath hitched. I remembered Mom's tight smile at family dinners, her constant refrain, family shares, and Dad's dismissive wave every time I tried to set boundaries as a kid. Had they betrayed Grandpa too? The mystery deepened, a shadow of hidden motives creeping into my thoughts. Then came the email from Mom. "Family Zoom tomorrow, 7 p.m. We need to settle this crypto nonsense." I could picture her in her Palo Alto living room, manicured nails clicking on her phone, her voice calm but commanding, like when she'd lecture me for locking my bedroom door at 15. Ethan would be there, slouched in his office chair, smirking like he'd already won. Lily would play the victim, her twins' voices in the background, for effect. The thought of facing them made my chest tighten. But I wasn't that scared kid anymore. The one who let Ethan trash my stuff, or Lily steal my thunder. I prepped my evidence, screenshots, logs, Grandpa's notes, like a coder debugging a critical error. I even laughed a little, picturing Ethan's face when he realized his phishing emails were as useless as his attempt to fix our old family PC, which he crashed in an hour. The dread built as the Zoom call loomed, my apartment's walls closing in, the fog outside a silent accomplice. I tested my webcam, the hum of my computer fans, a steady rhythm against my racing heart. This wasn't just about the wallet. It was about every boundary they'd ever crossed, every time they'd made me feel small. Grandpa's words echoed, "Protect your dreams." I was ready to walk into the cave of family secrets, but as the call connected, their faces revealed the betrayal, harder, colder, and more calculated than I had ever imagined. The Zoom call connected with a chime that echoed through my San Francisco apartment. The fog outside my window, a swirling gray mass that seemed to seep into the room, thickening the air with tension. My heart hammered like a glitchy algorithm. My fingers gripped the mouse so tight, my knuckles whitened. The screen filled with their faces. Mom, in her Palo Alto living room, lips pursed in that familiar judgmental line. Ethan, slouched in his office chair, smirk barely hiding his frustration. Lily, in her kitchen, twins visible in the background, their innocent laughter a stark contrast to the storm brewing. Dad hovered behind Mom, arms crossed, his expression stern, just like when he'd lecture me at 12 for not sharing toys with Ethan. And Aunt Karen, joining late, her feed freezing for a second, glitching as she muttered, "Hello, everyone." I could smell the faint lavender from my diffuser, but it did nothing to ease the knot twisting in my stomach. This was it. The ordeal I'd dreaded, the cave of family secrets, laid bare. Mom started, her voice sharp. "Sawyer, we're all here because this crypto thing has gone on long enough. Grandpa meant for it to help the family, not just you hoarding it." Ethan leaned forward, his video lagging, words choppy. "Yes, sis, hand over the passwords. We know you've got access. Don't make us push harder." Then Lily chimed in, her tone pleading, but edged with manipulation. "Think of the kids, Sawyer. They're right here. How can you let them down?" In the background, her twins giggled, one waving a toy at the camera, oblivious. But then Ethan slipped, his frustration boiling over. "We've been trying to get in anyway, those login attempts. That was us. Just give us the seed phrase and we'll sort it out." My blood ran cold. They admitted it. Hacking my wallet, violating U.S. cyber laws, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. They could land in real trouble for unauthorized access. The confession hit like a system crash, dragging me back to 10 years old, huddled in my room after Ethan hacked my email for fun. Reading my private messages, laughing with Lily, while Mom dismissed it as sibling stuff. The wounded child in me screamed, "Why was I always the one to give in?" But now resolve surged. I wasn't that kid anymore. You mean these attempts? I said, my voice steady, despite the quake inside. I shared my screen, pulling up the monitoring logs, timestamps, IPs, Ethan's failed phishing emails, glitching out like his video feed now. The room erupted. Ethan's face reddened, his connection stuttering as he yelled, "That's not fair! You're spying on us!" Lily's eyes widened, her hand flying to her mouth. The twins started to fuss, their cries piercing through the speakers. "You're scaring the children," she snapped, her voice cracking. Mom's feed froze mid-sentence, her angry glare frozen in a pixelated mess. Almost comical, but the humor vanished in the chaos. Dad barked, "This is family, Sawyer, not some courtroom." The tension peaked, arguments flying like corrupted data packets. The kids' cries a heartbreaking underscore. Inside, I wrestled with a profound crisis. Empathy for the twins, clashing with fury at their weaponization, the old pain of betrayal, resolving into fierce independence. Grandpa's words echoed, "Protect your dreams." I activated the digital alarm, freezing all external access attempts with a single command. The wallet locked down like a vault. Their faces contorted in shock. Ethan slammed his desk, the thump audible through the speakers. But the real shock came when I revealed the proof. Grandpa's notes, his warnings about their past betrayals, his words about being pushed to sell his patents. The evidence they could no longer deny. The Zoom call ended with a deafening silence. The screen went black as my family's faces vanished, leaving me alone in my San Francisco apartment. The fog outside had started to lift. A faint glow of streetlights filtered through the window, but the weight in my chest felt lighter now, like a program finally running smoothly after hours of debugging. My hands, still tingling from the confrontation, rested on my laptop, the hum of its fans, a quiet victory song. I'd done it. I'd protected Grandpa Everett's crypto wallet, locked it down with a new cold storage setup I'd spent $150 on, transferred the funds to a hardware wallet safer than Fort Knox. The Bitcoin market was still climbing, 87,000 in late September 2025. And every cent of Grandpa's legacy, secure, untouchable. I leaned back in my chair, the worn leather creaking, and I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. The lavender scent from my diffuser filled the air. Relief washed over me, warm and steady, like the root beer Grandpa used to hand me on his Oakland porch, the jasmine-scented evenings wrapping us in peace. "You did good, Sawyer." I could almost hear him say it, his voice warm, his eyes crinkling with pride. But the family's retreat was bitter. Ethan's final message in the group chat was curt, "You'll regret this." His words dripping with the same arrogance he'd shown at 14 when he sold my old Game Boy and smirked, while I cried. I could picture him now, slamming his laptop shut in his fancy condo, his face red with defeat. Lily's last text? A photo of her twins, captioned, "Hope you're happy." Her attempt at guilt, as transparent as when she borrowed my sketchbook at 12 and ruined it. Mom called once, her voice tight through the speakerphone. "This isn't how family works, Sawyer." Before hanging up, her manicured nails probably tapping furiously in her Palo Alto living room. Their anger stung, but it was their defeat that empowered me. For the first time, I wasn't the one bending, wasn't the kid swallowing her pain, just to keep the peace. The wounded child inside me, the one who hid in her room after every betrayal, finally felt seen, finally felt validated. I opened my Robinhood app, a small smile tugging at my lips, as I invested a chunk of the crypto, $50,000, into a startup idea I'd been coding for months. A platform for freelance coders like me. It was a risk, but it felt right, like honoring Grandpa's belief in my dreams. I chuckled, imagining Ethan's face, if he knew his phishing emails had crashed and burned, just like his attempt to hack our family's old router, which he bricked in an hour. But my heart softened, thinking of Lily's twins, their innocent giggles from the Zoom call still echoing in my mind. I didn't want them caught in this mess, didn't want them to feel the fallout of their mom's manipulation. Maybe one day, I'd set up a small fund for them, on my terms. When the dust settled, the city outside was quiet now, the fog giving way to a clear night, the stars faintly visible through my window. I sipped a fresh coffee, the warmth spreading through me, and felt a deep satisfaction settle in. I'd cut the toxic ties, not with anger, but with the quiet strength Grandpa taught me. This wasn't just about money, it was about claiming my space, claiming my worth, in a family that had always tried to take it. I wasn't running from the fight anymore. I was standing tall, ready to build something new. The dust from the Zoom showdown settled, but my San Francisco apartment still felt like a battlefield. The fog outside rolled in thick and heavy, mirroring the unease lingering in my chest. I sat at my desk, the hum of my computer fans, a steady reminder of the world I was trying to return to. The lavender scent from my diffuser now faint, against the weight of what had happened. My phone buzzed with voicemails, each one a jagged edge of my family's anger. Ethan's voice was sharp, his message dripping with venom. "You think you're so smart, Sawyer? This isn't over." I could picture him in his sleek condo, pacing, his designer shoes clicking on hardwood as he spat into the phone. Lily's voicemail was softer, but no less cutting, her voice trembling like it did when we were teens, when she'd play the victim after stealing my stuff. "I can't believe you'd hurt the kids like this," she said, her twins' chatter faint in the background. Mom's was the worst, her tone cold and clipped. "You've broken this family, Sawyer." I could see her in her Palo Alto living room, manicured nails tapping the armrest, her face set in that disappointed frown she used to guilt me into compliance at 15, when I'd refused to let Ethan use my laptop again. I deleted the messages, my fingers steady, but my heart heavy, the old wounds of betrayal aching like bruises. I flashed back to Grandpa Everett's porch in Oakland, 16 years old, the jasmine-scented air cool against my skin as he handed me a root beer. "You don't owe them your peace, Sawyer," his voice steady, after Ethan had trashed my coding project for fun. That memory became my compass, guiding me back to normal life. I threw myself into work, coding late into the night, the glow of my monitors a familiar comfort. San Francisco's fog wrapped the city in a moody haze, reflecting my quiet determination to move forward. I started therapy too, Zooming with a counselor named Dr. Patel, who helped me unpack the trauma of always being the family's scapegoat. "You're reclaiming your space," her voice calm through my earbuds, and I felt a flicker of pride, like debugging a stubborn error. But the threats lingered. A text from Ethan hinted at legal options, his words vague but menacing, like when he'd threatened to tell Mom if I didn't share my stuff as a kid. Lily posted a passive-aggressive Instagram story, a photo of her twins captioned, "Family should lift each other up." I could imagine her in her perfect Sacramento kitchen, crafting the post to twist the knife. The city's $3,200 rent loomed, a reminder of why I fought so hard. Grandpa's crypto was my ticket out of that grind. I chuckled softly, picturing Ethan's face when he realized his phishing emails had failed as spectacularly as his attempt to fix our family's old router, which he'd crashed in minutes. The humor helped, but the lingering tension kept me on edge, like a program running in the background, waiting for the next bug. I sipped a fresh coffee, the warmth grounding me, as I stared out at the foggy skyline, the Golden Gate Bridge barely visible in the distance. I was rebuilding, focusing on my startup, my therapy, my life. But deep down, I knew the family wasn't done. A subtle prickle of unease told me they were planning something bigger, a final test I'd have to face. The fog had lifted outside my San Francisco apartment, but a new storm brewed in my inbox. The city's skyline was sharp and clear through my window, for the first time in days. I sat at my desk, the hum of my computer fans, a familiar backdrop as I coded my startup project, the glow of the screen reflecting off my coffee mug. The lavender scent from my diffuser lingered, calming, but not enough to drown the unease creeping back in. It had been a week since the Zoom showdown, and I'd started to breathe easier, focusing on therapy sessions with Dr. Patel, where we unpacked the betrayal like lines of faulty code. But then my phone buzzed, an email from Ethan, a legal threat, CC'd to a lawyer, claiming undue influence in Grandpa's will, demanding access to the crypto wallet, or else. "We'll take this to court if we have to." His words, calculated like the phishing emails he'd sent before. I could picture him in his condo, leaning back with that smug grin, thinking he could bully me one last time. Just like when he threatened to expose my private journal at 13, if I didn't let him use my laptop. My heart raced. The old fear surged like a system overload, dragging me back to 11 years old, hiding in Grandpa Everett's Oakland garage. After Ethan hacked my email and shared my secrets with Lily for laughs. The air there had been thick with solder, and Jasmine from the backyard, Grandpa's voice steady, as he handed me a USB drive. "Counter with facts, Sawyer. Don't let them in. Lock them out." That lesson resurrected me now, stronger. The wounded child inside me, transforming into a woman who knew her worth. I didn't panic. Instead, I dove into digital forensics, using tools like Wireshark to trace the hack attempts. Real details, showing unauthorized access from their IPs, clear violations of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. I compiled a report, my fingers flying across the keyboard. The $300 I'd spent on forensic software, paying off, as I uncovered a final hack attempt. Outsourced, sloppy, traceable. Ethan's last desperate move. I filed a police report online, attaching the evidence, my voice calm, as I described the incidents to the cybercrimes unit over the phone. "This is harassment." I pictured Ethan's face crumpling when he got the notice, his incompetence on full display, like the time he tried to secure our family's Wi-Fi and locked us all out for a day. The humor in his defeat brought a wry smile to my lips, easing the tension. The threat stopped cold after that, their retreat final, leaving me with ultimate healing, the betrayal's scars fading, as I embraced my independence in this digital age, where boundaries aren't just walls, they're firewalls. The pace of my days slowed, the city's fog returning softly outside, a gentle veil over the skyline. I felt resurrected, whole, reminding myself that in our connected world, protecting your digital space is as vital as guarding your heart. Grandpa's lessons had saved me, turning pain into power, and I was ready to move forward, calm, unshakable. A month had passed since the chaos, and my San Francisco apartment felt like a sanctuary again. The fog outside my window, now just a soft veil, not the suffocating weight it once was. I sat at my desk, the familiar hum of my computer fans blending with the distant sound of the city waking up, the faint lavender scent from my diffuser wrapping me in calm. My startup was taking shape, funded by $75,000 from Grandpa Everett's crypto wallet, now safely locked away in a cold storage device I kept in a safe deposit box. The Bitcoin market had stabilized at $90,000 in October 2025. And every time I checked the balance, I felt a quiet thrill, not just for the money, but for what it represented. Grandpa's trust, my freedom. I sipped a warm coffee, the mug steady in my hands, and I smiled, picturing him on his Oakland porch, the jasmine-scented air thick around us, as he handed me a root beer at 16s. "Build something that matters, Sawyer." His voice warm, his gray hair catching the evening light. That memory was my elixir, a reminder of the strength I'd found. The wounded child inside me, healed into someone who could stand tall. My relationships had shifted. Ethan was distant, his texts now short and cold, like the clipped "fine, keep it" he'd sent after the police report, his smug grin nowhere in sight. I could imagine him in his condo, stewing, his designer shoes kicked off in frustration. Lily reached out once, her voice softer, on a voicemail. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." Her twins' laughter faint in the background, tugging at my heart. I pictured her in her Sacramento kitchen, her hands twisting nervously, no longer playing the martyr. Mom and Dad were quiet, their silence louder than their lectures ever were, like when I'd locked my room at 14 to protect my things, and they'd called me selfish. But Marcus, my cousin in Portland, became closer, texting me coding tips, checking in, his lanky frame probably slouched over his phone, glasses slipping down his nose. And my crypto forum friends, like Tara, aka Blockchain Babe, cheered my startup progress on Zoom. Her cluttered desk, a mirror of mine. The moral was clear. In this digital age, protecting your assets, crypto or otherwise, is about guarding your boundaries. A value so American, it's practically coded into our culture of individualism. I'd learned to value my space, my dreams, just as Grandpa taught me. Therapy with Dr. Patel helped me see it. I wasn't selfish for saying no, I was strong. The San Francisco skyline sparkled outside, the fog giving way to a crisp morning, and I felt a peaceful resolve, a positive, haunting reflection of who I'd become. I had honored Grandpa's legacy, turning his trust into a future I could build. If this story hit home for you, if you've ever had to fight for your boundaries or protect what's yours, drop it in the comments below. Share your story, hit that like button, and subscribe to join me on this journey. Let's keep building our dreams, one line of code at a time.